Greetings, Kai Hagan here with another in a series of podcasts I've been with members of our community, specifically to focus on how different parts of our community are affected by and dealing with issues related to our public health crisis and the economic crisis that has come with it. We've had a number of interesting guests, but today I am extremely pleased to be here with Aje Hill. Aje is the executive director of I Believe in Me. They have partnered with the City Youth Matrix, but many of you have probably read about some of his activities in the paper, met him through those extensive activities. He is very dedicated to the youth in our community and in general to those who are most vulnerable, and is just an endlessly energetic, highly motivated, everywhere all the time sort of active person working on these issues and working hard to get other people involved. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, or mostly Aje is going to talk about what's been happening, what he's been seeing on the ground, what they've been trying to do to help. He's got some slides to share with us, and at the end we'll make sure that if we haven't already, we talk about ways you can help by either volunteering, making a contribution, and when we post this video, it'll include direct links to I Believe in Me Incorporated website, Facebook page, whatever, to make it as easy as possible. So having said that, welcome Aje.
How you doing, Mr. Hagan? First of all, I want to thank you for not only inviting me onto the podcast, but everything you do as a county councilman. Standing up for the people during the time of this crisis. It means the world to organizations like me and other organizations and businesses in this community that we have the supports of our county during such a pandemic. So thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Secondly, I want to thank you for allowing us to be people. Your Facebook page often stretches out into nature, and nature allows someone like me to relax because it's normal, it's consistent. It's life. So you have a Facebook page where you show a beaver stream where now it's grown into a family. So to me, someone that's active, someone that's busy, sometimes we need some calm. Sometimes we need to be able to relax and see life at a different speed. So watching your videos definitely allow me to relax, laugh.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's very nice to hear. Thank you very much.
We definitely appreciate that as well. And thirdly, the community. We appreciate all of the ordinary people that continue to do extraordinary things for our organization and City Youth Matrix to be able to keep our families with critical grocery needs during this crisis, as well as engage not only educationally, but physically, because oftentimes we don't know what some of these young men and young women are dealing with and what resources they are lacking in order to be successful. Over this pandemic, we had a mentor program, and we had 54 young men and women involved in our mentor program. We met at the Asbury United Methodist Church on West All Saint Street. Right after school, we picked up 23 kids a day, and we came into the church. One of the first things we did when we got into the church was we had a prepared snack for our kids. And this snack was a sandwich, a bag of chips, a banana, a water, and a cookie, some type of healthy snack. Because as we know, kids during school, they don't gravitate toward the school lunch all the time. They have their picks on what they want to eat. And we know that we need the diet to match the brain. If the kids are not eating the proper meal, it's hard for the brain to be able to learn. So with that, with our program, after the snack, we have tutors that pair up with our mentors and work with educational goals, needs, resumes, and things like that. After our snack and our educational needs, we go to physical education, which is outside, maybe the basketball court, football field, swimming pool, things to keep our kids engaged. So through this pandemic, our kids were forced to stay at home. They were forced into online learning. They were forced into things that were unnormal. And me as a mentor, I know lots of them lack the needed resources. So we're asking them to get up in the morning and go to school when some of these kids don't have an orange juice. They don't have a Pop-Tart. They don't have eggs and bacon and the things that we need to stimulate our brains to learn. also, some of these kids lack the discipline needed to enforce the brain to work. If we're staying up till 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning playing video games, it's hard to get a kid to wake up at 9 or 10 and do classwork. And if we do, it's wasting time because he's not active and he's not prepared to learn. So with that, we started this thing when the pandemic started called Hope Boxes. We were going to our kids' house and we were delivering Pop-Tarts, pecan swirls, noodles, juice boxes, cereals, milks, things to encourage learning, things to be sure that the needed resources were at the table in order for them to be able to wake up in the morning, turn on their laptop, and get engaged with their schoolwork. So through this, giving hope boxes, as we were going into these communities, as we were coming out of some of the doors, there were so many people saying, hey, we're hungry. Can we find a way? Is there a number we can call to qualify to get some food? And me, the definition of a hope dealer is showing up, being there for our community, even in the time of crisis, supporting them.
Or especially.
That's when leaders are made. So for me, I had to figure out a way to be able to deliver this hope wider on a larger scale. So with that being said, what we did was we tried to make some partnerships, and with the city of Frederick, awesome community, Delaplane Foundation, Community Foundation, United Way has just come together in a magnificent way. So with the coming up together, today I can tell you, last week alone, we fed 1,100 families.
I saw that. It's pretty remarkable.
It's just, and the feeling of humbleness, because we could be givers today and receivers tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So to be blessed to be able to help someone else is just a feeling that's unexplainable. The only words that come to my mind when I think about the service that we're providing right now is thankful. Because alone, it's impossible to do great things. It takes a group of us. It takes a community. It takes a village. So watching this village, watching this community come together has just been special in itself. And through the food, we had a partner by the name of Aaron Vetter, City Youth Matrix. When we started our first 2 weeks of grinding with the food, getting in the Hickory Hills apartment, getting in the Mullinex apartment, he reached out to me and he said, brother, you're doing some awesome work, man, but let's take it one step further. He said, we're putting the foods into the homes, and his profession, his expertise is in education because he's a school teacher. So he said, we're putting the food into the homes. However, let's also find a way to keep them engaged. So we sat down and we talked, and he already had this brilliant idea of this school bucket. Inside of the school bucket, it was STEM activities, it was art activity, it was music activity, it was physical education activity, the whole 9 yards, not only to keep the kids engaged, but families as well. So this was a win-win partnership because now we can get the critical grocery needs in the home, as well as keeping them engaged and feeling like human beings, even during a time like this. Our goal was to reach over 16,000 kids with school buckets. We want every Alice kid in our community to be able to have this school bucket in their home so that during this time, even if the internet isn't working, even if they don't have a computer in their home, we have lessons up on our COVID site with teachers, educational leaders that are teaching the kids how to play the harmonica, how to play
and not to have a significant detour here, but just so people know, when you say a number like 16,000, that sounds like a lot when you're talking about, 45, 46,000 students in the county total, something like that. I'm not sure what the exact number is at the moment, but ALICE, for those who don't know, is asset limited, income constrained, employed. And it's everybody, it's not just people at a poverty level, but it's everybody in your community that is struggling week to week, that is a car repair or a health problem or something like that from having nothing or being bankrupt or whatever. And it uses a number of metrics around, healthcare and childcare and transportation and housing to sort of make that evaluation. And we've had Um, People be, generally very surprised to find out that the percentage of people in Frederick County who are Alice is more than 40%, and it's close to 50% in the city of Frederick. So this is not something that is affecting just a small fraction of people in our community when all of a sudden they're losing their financial resources, their job is in jeopardy, there are other issues that are affecting what they can do because they had no margin of error. It's a lot more of us than people tend to be aware of. Anyway, sorry to interrupt with that. But
Absolutely. I love the clarification there, Mr. Hagan. Shout out to United Way for keeping those numbers accurate, consistent, and taking the time to come up with that knowledge for people like you and me. So
absolutely.
thanks for the clarification there. But also just working with City Youth Matrix has been working with Mr. Vetter. The thing about leaders must remain learners. So even through crisis, in order to make a difference, we have to continue to keep our brains open and learn as we go. So working with Mr. Vetter has been an honor and a privilege to serve because we're learning. He introduced a word to me. I've been a nonprofit president for 4 years, and he introduced a word to me that it's so small of a word, but it's so meaningful. He said, we have to continue to improve systems.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we're never perfect. We're always getting better. This train is always going to get smoother. These tracks are always going to be able to make our train maybe run faster or even slow it down. So I can't echo enough how much of a blessing it is working with him during a crisis and be able to continue to learn as a nonprofit executive, help our community continue to flourish even during a tough time.
And when you talk about systems, one of the things that conversation always leads you back to is the fact that it's all connected. It's not just one thing here, one thing there. And so it's complex, and there's always something to learn from it.
Absolutely. And it's been nothing but a pleasure. We're in right now, the hope has been stretched so wide. We're in 6 different communities. We're in Hickory Hills. We're in Walkersville, we're in Brunswick, we're in Thurmont, we're in Mullinex Park, just trying to meet the people where they are. And it's important when we come as hope dealers, I feel like it's very, very important to treat our patrons like human beings rather than come and give them a bag and not knowing if their diet can even take that bag in or if it's going to become waste. We try to make sure we're polite. We try to make sure we're consistent. We try to make sure we have grace and dignity because these are human beings. And these are the very people that when our economy was booming, these were the ones that went into the store and worked for the minimum wage. Mm-hmm. These were the ones that took that paycheck and paid the landlord, went out into the economy and brought those groceries back into the home to feed their family. So we like to look at them as equals. We like to look at them as people, human beings that just because it's a tough time, we shouldn't dictate what their diet says. So we open up a distribution line, plenty of partners. Food Pro is one of our major partners. We got Dairy Maid, we got Beanbo Bakeries, we got Starbucks. And these partnerships are very important to me because COVID-19 is actually just starting, in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm. We are a long way from past this. Both the public health element and the consequent economic circumstances.
I couldn't agree more. And what some of us don't know is the anger, the mental illness, the domestic violence, the hunger that's going on in some of these homes that we're not aware of. So these children coming back into our world, and it's already a new normal, how they will adapt to the new normal without the proper outlets, without the proper professionals, without the proper hope dealers, without the proper mentors to be able to guide them back into the new normal. So for me, it's very important during this time to learn best practices, to learn guidelines, 6 feet distance, because as leaders, when these youth and young adults come back out, they're going to be paying attention to us as the adults. So it's important for us to be an example, show some integrity, and be respectful to the new normal. So for me, I can't express enough the thanks to this community, the partnerships. Dairy Maid is one of our partners, but The thing about Dairy Made after COVID-19, those 250 bottles of milk will still go into the homes of children's parents that maybe will not be able to provide milk in the house because she has to go back to work and pay bills that she's backed up on, pay car notes, pay insurance. So these partners, Starbucks, they give us pre-made sandwiches. These sandwiches will go back into the home once we're able to meet these youth where they are. Bimbo Bakeries gives us 10 cases of muffins every week. These muffins will still be able to be utilized once we move back into the new normal. So these partnerships are just not COVID partnerships. To me, I like to look at them as building relationships, making our community, making our generation, and making our future better. So again, it's just an honor to serve.
I know that you brought a few slides along, and would this be a good time to pull those
Absolutely.
up for you?
Absolutely.
Since you sent them to me to share, hopefully I'll get this right, but share the screen and play. So, with any luck, this worked and everybody.
You got it. You got
Okay,
it. You can
so.
move down to the second slide. That's just a picture introducing myself. I believe
Well,
in me.
but it's a nice picture.
Thank you.
I just want to go back to it for a second to point out to people that they can make a contribution and get one of those T-shirts.
Absolutely. We have plenty of T-shirts. We have blue, we have black, we have red, we have tank tops because summer is coming. We have hats, we have sweatshirts. So there are plenty ways to support through apparel purchases as well. I believe in me. The mission here is to inspire and challenge our youth through physical, mental, and social activities that foster self-respect and respect for the world around them. Some buzzwords to our organization are consistency. I like to tell my mentors the hardest thing about being a mentor is showing up. Once you get in the room with those kids, everything becomes easy. Helping those kids miss the dark places in life that we experience becomes such a blessing and an easy thing to do once you get consistently show up. Respect, not only respect for yourself, but respect for your peers, respect for your neighbors, and respect for the world around you. And finally, the biggest word of our organization is integrity. We use it a lot now when we're meeting with our students. What are we doing when no one is watching? Right now, we're in this room where it's just us and the PlayStation controller, but what are we doing? Are we showing integrity? Are we doing things that we normally wouldn't do if Mr. Aje was sitting right here? Are we doing things that we normally wouldn't do if we were in a classroom setting? Because that's the definition of integrity and how we define leaders. So that's just some key buzzwords that I keep instilling in the minds of our mentees during this crisis.
Do you want me to go to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A lot of great pictures.
These are just some of the ways, like some of these youth within our program, without I Believe in Me, would not be able to visit an Orioles game. Being in an environment with over 40,000 people, it helps so much to be able to escape your own environment and see and be around big crowds and capacity to know how to move. But in some instances, without events and sponsors like the Reach Club and the Baltimore Orioles, some of these kids will not be able to enjoy in these type of festivities. We have a basketball tournament this year. Sadly, it's one of our biggest fundraisers. We have a basketball tournament. Each kid, the champions, receive one of those rings. The coaches receive one of those big plaques, but we were canceled this year due to COVID. But because of COVID, we still showed up. We still blessed our community with hope. So like I said, these foundations, United Way, Della Plain Foundation, and also the Community Foundation have really showed up and helped us be able to meet our community where they are and not forced us to kill our budget, the small budget that we had during this crisis. We had a Mommy and Me prom. This is our 4th annual Mommy and Me prom this year. Oftentimes we like to think of one day of the year as Mother's Day. For me, every single day of the year should be Mother's Day, because without mom, there's no us. It's impossible. Me, myself, I went to a place they call prison, and I swear my mom went to prison with me because every day it seemed like she had a heart attack because I was in such a dark place. but going through that has taught me to appreciate my mom, love her unconditionally. We only have one mom, nothing's promised. So being a member of the community now rather than a menace allows me to love my mom more than ever and appreciate everything she's taught me, even though the choices that I made. So this event right here, we dress up in these slick tuxedos and a limousine pulls up at the Asbury United Methodist Church, and we pick up mom, and she's got on a nice dress, black dress, and we treat her like the queen that she is. We take her to a candlelight dinner on the limousine ride. We have music, we have awards, we have desserts. We just treat mom special and encourage our youth and our mentees, not just today, but every day you should treat your mom in this manner, because eventually they're going to grow up and be some young lady's husband. So we want them to know how a lady is supposed to be treated, and the best way to start is with mom. Awesome partners, Nike. We had a back to school drive, and Nike shows up every single year and blesses the kids with sneakers and clothing to be able to go back to school. Because, you know, sometimes we go back to school and we wonder why the kid is rebelling. We wonder why the kid really doesn't come to school at 8 or 9 in the morning, but what we don't understand is he's lacking confidence because he's wearing the same clothes from 3 years ago back to school. And he sees everybody else come back to school with these new shoes, these new jeans, these new everything, and I'm still wearing. So that takes away the confidence and kind of busts the kid's bubble and makes him think that he's less than. So we try to make sure that all of our students within I Believe in Me go back to school with the same confidence, apparel, and love to enforce them and hold them accountable to learning. United Way, another great organization. They've been showing their support. We went over and assisted in their supply drive over at Trinity Church. But these are just pictures of ways that we like to stay engaged, ways that we like to give back while teaching our youth how to be accountable, how to be responsible, and how to set goals for themselves so one day they can be to us and give back to our community.
Absolutely. That picture in the middle there is awesome.
That's one of my favorite days of the year right there.
Yeah, that's a fantastic picture. Next slide.
Yes, sir. Awesome, awesome picture. This just shows the depth of our partnership in the last 6 weeks. You got Mr. Brad Young in that picture right there. He's been, a lot of times I like to say, please don't go out in front of me and please don't have my back. Stand by.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. Are you there?
Just
Oh, there. You're back. Did I lose you or did you lose me?
I think we're back, but I think you went out because I see green down there.
Okay, well, I'm just going to go back to the start screen and hopefully I can edit it out. And if not, thank you all for bearing with us for a moment while we had some technical difficulties. So I'll go back to the slides and play. Okay, so here we are, and can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're good. I don't know what that was, but didn't take too long.
Sounds good. That's good stuff over there. You working your tech skills, I see.
Yeah.
But we got Brad
barely enough. You know, I've seen, you know, Brad's also been posting on Facebook Live from some of these, and so I've seen some of those as well. So he's been not only showing up, but making a real effort to
not only showing up, because as the need increases, the refrigerator, the freezer space increases because we have to load up the inventory, because last week we went and dealt Hope 5 days out of a 5-day week. So we can't keep this stuff in little commercial refrigerators anymore. And Mr. Brad Young, Frederick County Public School Board, refrigerator and freezer. So when we get 15 or 16 cases of meat, I just call him up, meet me at the school board, brother. It's just been a blessing. And the
That's great.
partnerships are inseparable. Like they're never going to be broken. They're going to last forever. They're going to move outside of COVID-19 so we can continue to pair up, team up, and help other people. You got a picture up there of Stauffer's Funeral Home all the way in Thurmont. So we built relationships and built partnership with Stauffer Funeral Home so that we can touch people in other communities. And through that, Stauffer has opened up every funeral home that they have in Maryland to I Believe in Me to be able to set up a
Wow.
line like this and deliver hope to our patrons. So partnerships that are just a blessing. And down the bottom, you can see this is where one of our food distributions at Hickory Hills Apartments on the Golden Mile. And the line goes all the way to the back of the complex. But we have cones set up for socially distanced, so everyone stands at a cone. And we have a touch-free line as the patrons walk through the line. To keep the patron behind them safe, we don't allow them to grab off the line. What we do is one of our volunteers that is properly protected puts the items that they choose rather than the items that they want, so we can control waste into the bag, and we walk down the distribution line. At the end of the line, with a smile and grace on the volunteer's face, we give them their bag of hope. Because as I said, I can't emphasize enough how we want these people leaving as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have, there's no judge on Hickory Hills. There's no jury that we're making people think we're taking names or we're taking IDs. We're just dealing hope. And we're just trying to keep you knowing that this community cares and there are people that are willing to show up and deliver for you even during a pandemic.
Next slide.
Yes, sir. These are just some of the numbers during our presentation. Me and you talked about how it started off with hope boxes and then it moved along. We also have senior bags. We've partnered with Difference Makers Church and Strong Tower Church. So now we provide a senior and immune compromised delivery service, because what we were seeing is a lot of elderly people were coming out and waiting in our distribution lines. And as we know with the guidelines, our elderly are definitely are not supposed to be out trying to combat this crisis. So what we partnered with Strong Tower Church, Difference Makers Church, and they have an immune compromised system where all the groceries come in, they sanitize them, take the order from the senior citizen or immune compromised, and actually deliver the box to the front porch and drop a message of hope inside of the box to keep our patrons safe and to be sure that we're protecting our patrons as well and not having them stand in positions where they could possibly contract the virus.
I'm glad you're really emphasizing that. That's really important, because not only for obvious public health reasons, but to give people the confidence, you know, to not stay away or utilize another method because, you know, that stuff hasn't been thoroughly considered and planned for. So kudos to you for that.
Absolutely. Like we said, we learn it on the fly. We have a lot of good brains, a lot of good minds working with us to make the systems better and to continue to grow. But our number one focus is keeping our patrons and keeping our volunteers safe. It's very, very, very important, because if one of us isn't being safe, it's not setting a good example for the 90 to 100 people that are waiting in line. So it's vital that we practice what we preach. And as we said, we are learning as we go out into the field and provide service every day, but learning is what makes us leaders.
So this growth is pretty significant. I noticed that the Mullinex Park one has gone down, and is that because of the growth in Hickory Hills and Stauffer, and that they're just other better locations for that?
My honest opinion on the decline in Mullinex Park is because we have an awesome, awesome, awesome food bank that has been in service for over 40 years.
Good point.
And the reason that you see Mullinex came off is because I Believe in Me and City Youth Matrix didn't want to duplicate services. Because the food bank has stepped up in a major, major, major way through this crisis and added days and time, we felt like they had resource right around the corner that they could access. So we wanted to take that time and move into communities that we weren't in, the Alice communities that were higher instead of going to a place where they already have resources. So now moving forward, last week and moving forward, we will not be in Mullinex at all because we trust and we know that the food bank is doing an excellent job providing food for those patrons in that area.
And that number for Hickory Hills, I mean, over 300 and growing.
It grew last week when we put up the graph. I'm working on graphs and updating our sponsor sheet for this week. It actually is going to go up even higher than that because the numbers this week were 290 and 376 in Hickory Hills. So it's definitely growing.
Yeah. Is that the last slide or is there another one?
I think there's one more down there.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Well,
so
those are just the numbers of the different areas, the Hope box, the senior boxes, just some numbers, but we're going to add Brunswick into this tonight. We're going to add some updated numbers from Stauffer Funeral Home as they went up. Everything seems to be going up, but what we want to do is we want to prevent, really honestly, giving people what they need and what they want, because there's going to come a time where we have to encourage resume writing, going back out in this world and making our economy strive like it once was before. So we're very careful in, as you see this week, we're moving down our distributions. We're not going to be in any community twice because we don't want to enable our patrons. Mm-hmm. We want to be sure that when it's time to get motivated and go back out, we're not just coming into communities giving so they think, well, someone's going to bring us and give us so we don't have to go out. So we're really monitoring the motivation, the places where we go that is in a need and a want. And also, just to be perfectly honest, running a welfare line. We don't want to run a welfare line. We want to run a line of hope. We want to be certain that these items are taken into homes where they're utilized rather than pitched in a dumpster.
Mm-hmm. Well, certainly hope that's true. And I suspect that because of the approach that you're taking, that there's probably a lot less waste than some programs. As we start to wrap up here, this is a good slide, actually, because we wanted to end by letting people know how they could help. So you do have the ability to take financial contributions online. And we will put that link as a hot link when we share this on social media and with the YouTube post. You can obviously use mail if you're not online or you'd rather just write a check anyway rather than contribute directly online. But Aje, in addition to people's ability to contribute, you obviously are utilizing a lot of volunteers helping with other things. For people who are not too vulnerable and who have the time and the ability to help, how do they get in touch with you to do that? And we'll make sure we include that information too.
We will definitely give the website. There's an About Us where you can reach out about possibly being a volunteer. And I would encourage ones that while we're sitting still inside to think about your craftsmanship at being a mentor, helping someone after this crisis is over, volunteering maybe 1 or 2 hours of your time to pair up with a group of young men, because the dilemma is going to be really high once we come out of this crisis for I Believe in Me, because we can no longer meet 25 or 30 children at one time because of the new normals, because of the guidelines. We're only going to be able to meet 3 or 4. So we're going to need more volunteers, more safe spaces, more physical places where the kids can run off their energy so that we can still engage and meet these youth where they are and build the hope that they and we have been missing so much. So words can't express our gratitude for what's already been done, what you people are doing, and what you will do for IBM in the future. I thank you for taking the time to bring me on this awesome podcast, your service, being a county councilman and caring about the people. Thank you, and thank you.
Well, I can't say anything better to end it than that. So thank you. And we'll do our best to share this and just help keep the broader level of awareness and public conversation about this going. But I hope, if nothing else, it results in getting some additional support and financial support and volunteers. So thank you for all that you do, Aje, and thank you for taking the time to come and speak about it.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day. Stay safe.
You too.